So let me go ahead and introduce our host today. So Nyala Pendergrass is a Manhattan College graduate and a current graduate student in the Sports Communication and Media program at Sacred Heart. She has called collegiate athletic contests at various institutions such as Yale University, Manhattan College, and Iona College. Additionally, she serves as the SCMA graduate assistant, a liaison between students and professors to advance the mission of the School of Communication, Media, and the Arts here at Sacred Heart University. Her professional goals are to be a play-by-play sports commentator and a sports radio broadcaster. So I'm going to turn it over to Nyala. Take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Miller, and thank everybody for tuning in, and especially thank you to our panelists. We have first Lauren Baker, a technical director at Bleacher Report, Melissa Pravada, digital and social media coordinator for the New York Jets, and Miranda Bracco, who's a sports video editor at ESPN. Firstly, we could start with you, Lauren. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got your position, and what's your favorite part in your current role?
So I work at Bleacher Report as one of their technical directors, and I got the job by all the experience I had at Sacred Heart. They loved that I knew how to use a Ross Carbonite, and I knew what it was, and I've switched shows on it before. So they loved that. And when I started here, I was ready to jump in, to do it. And I think one of my favorite things is how I can be really creative with all the shows we are doing. Like this morning, we do a show called Draft Crash Course, and we break down each player and who we think is going where. And so today was our final episode before our mock draft show on Monday. And I was the one who's kind of can come up with creative ideas. We have an iPad comments, and I was it would be really cool if we made the comment section bigger so you can actually see the comments. So that was one of my favorite things to do, to be more creative and have more creative input in the show itself.
Thank you. Melissa, same question.
So I interned with the Jets since I was a junior in college and my undergrad at Monmouth in events. Just bouncing around some departments between HR, making as many connections as I could. And then when I went back to Sacred Heart for my master's in sports broadcasting and digital media, as soon as I graduated from there, an opening in coaching actually opened up, and I was an administrative assistant down there for 2 years. And then when Coach Sala came in, there was an opening in social, which is ideally what I wanted to do. So it was a nice transition, just going and having the connections with the players and coaches on that side to the media side. So, using those relationships to kind of get the best content we could for the social platforms was really helpful in that aspect. And that's how I ended up in social.
Thank you. Miranda, what's your favorite part about your current role?
Yeah, so I'm an editor at ESPN right now, and my favorite part about my role is not only having, the opportunity to put my work out there every single day, whether it's Sports Center or First Take, but it's also having the access to ESPN has so many trainings available. I just got done with my first 3-month training, and I'm already signing up to, grow my skill set more and become better assets to the team. We get to dabble in a lot of things at Sacred Heart, but having that training also at ESPN just shows, that you can learn in your career.
Thank you. Our second question are, what are the challenges of being a woman and working in your current position? If there are any challenges, Lauren, you can go first if you can think of any.
When I first started, I'm the only woman in the control room. There's other women who work on the team, but I'm the only woman in the control room. So at first, I was kind of intimidated to walk in. It was an all male control room, and I was hi, I'm Lauren. I was they were all talking about the Yankee game last night, and I jumped right in. I was oh yeah, the Yankees we didn't play so well, and so at first I was kind of scared, but now I'm just a part of the team.
Mm-hmm. Melissa, any challenges?
So I kind of agree with Lauren in more of even though we've came so far, I think there's still a noticeable factor of just how dominant it is, male dominated compared to women in the office. So, just making sure you're always keeping up with everything. And I just think at the end of the day, you would like to see more women in your role than what it currently is right now. But other than that, I think, it's nice, like being able, like I said, working and coaching to going to the digital side, because I got to learn football from a different sort of aspect. So you're able to keep up more, even though obviously I never played growing up. It's nice to know just as much.
Thank you. Miranda?
Like Lauren and Melissa said, everyone that has trained me so far at ESPN has been a male who's been there for at least 25 years. They're very accepting. They're very happy to see me. Like what Lauren said, I do talk sports with them all the time, and they kind of get, thrown off a little bit because I do know like my players on the teams. There are a handful of other female editors I get to work with, so it's nice to still have that, but I'd love to obviously see a lot more of us out there.
Thank you. Now going back to sports, you guys said that you talk sports with your co-workers. Did you guys have a favorite female athlete, whether it be a coach, athlete, dancer, cheerleader, that you guys looked up to growing up? Lauren, go ahead.
I've always liked Erin Andrews. I've always liked to see her on the sideline. Even though I don't want to be a sideline reporter, it's so cool to like watch football and see like, oh, there's Erin Andrews, like she's out doing football games, or Michelle Tafoya on NBC. Like I think it's like so cool to watch them. Or even the Yankees have Meredith Marakovitz, and she was cool. So like,
Thank you. Melissa?
I agree with Lauren. I loved watching Erin Andrews growing up. She's kind of the reason why I wanted to get into sports. But when I was like younger growing up, I loved Venus and Serena Williams. I played tennis growing up, so that's an easy answer for me.
I'm also a big Williams sisters fan. Miranda, anybody?
Yeah, I'd have to say Jenny Dell was one of the main reasons why I went to sports media. She was a former Red Sox sideline reporter, and I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. That's what, baseball made me get into sports. So seeing her on the sideline and then her moving into CBS Sports now, it's just great to, see those lead female roles.
Exactly. Now, it's the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Have you seen or been personally impacted by Title IX in your career? Lauren?
I don't think so, not yet. They see me as a talented, like TD talented, like individual that's well educated. So I feel like I'm just starting out in my career, and
Thank you. I know we're all kind of just starting out, so if you don't have an answer, it's fine. But have you seen anything about Title IX, Melissa?
Yeah, I just kind of agree with Lauren. I've, luckily haven't faced any like adversity just because of my gender so far in my career. And I think I got a really nice opportunity being able to work in coaching. So that's obviously not a role that I think any 26-year-old, female would just get out of college. And yeah, I just think that like Title IX has helped just basically pave the way for women and make more opportunities. So I guess without it, I wouldn't be where I was.
Thank you. Miranda?
Yeah, on what Melissa was saying, I feel like we wouldn't be here without it today. Maybe not in the sports world, but I worked in local news a year before I went to ESPN, and I was a camerawoman, and I worked in Providence. So we were always with the Providence stations and the Boston stations, and I was one of the only female camerawomen. And there was a lot of, comments being made, and even by security guards and stuff like that. So I think that shaped me to have the mindset. So when I walked into ESPN, I was quite surprised that I haven't faced any of that yet.
Well, I'm happy for you. That's great. If we turn back time a little bit, what is your favorite memory from your time in the SCM program? And how do you think it's helped prepare you in your career so far? Lauren, go ahead.
My favorite time, I would have to say either working on CT Sports Now or working on all the live broadcasts. They were so much fun, and I loved every minute of it. And I feel like if it wasn't for those experiences, I wouldn't be where I am today, because I got to get hands-on experience of what it's like in the real world, where stuff that I've done either on CT Sports Now or whether it was working on the broadcast, I've done here in the office, or like working on different shows, and you're like, oh, I've done that before. So it's cool to like take what I've learned and to put it in the workforce.
Thank you. Melissa, your favorite SCM moment?
I agree with Lauren. I think that, working on CT sports now definitely helped me, with Avid and all that stuff to kind of prepare myself for my job now. My favorite moment, I think it was pretty cool going to the Dan Patrick show set with Professor Paps. That was a fun day at class.
Miranda?
I'd go off of what Lauren and Melissa said too. I think the broadcasting, the live games was definitely a key component in helping me, grow and prepare, because we did get to try out different positions each time. That way it helped us know what we liked and what we needed to work on if we wanted to, pursue that career somewhere.
Thank you all. If you can go back to college, whether it be undergrad or grad, to change anything to better prepare you for the industry, what would you do, if anything, Lauren?
I feel like I would just get involved more. It feels like I was really involved, but like if I could have done more and like maybe learned more, I guess.
Learned more in what realm? On the production side, or maybe on the communication side, or?
I don't know, maybe a little bit of both. I feel like I've learned so much that I don't know. Probably both.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Melissa?
I think I would just I wish I knew which area of media I would want to focus on more at the time, because I felt like I would like spread myself around to kind of see what I liked. But I guess it's also a good way to just like learn what you like as well. So I don't know what I would have done different.
Miranda, done anything any differently if you can go back in time?
So I wouldn't have done anything differently besides hope that COVID didn't happen, because I did graduate, it was a couple months into the program when COVID happened. So then we ended up going remote, and we did great. I think all the professors did great adapting, and we still, tried to put out a weekly show during those COVID times. We took the equipment home, had Zoom classes, but I feel like I wish I could go back in time and do it non-COVID style, because maybe I'd get a little bit more hands-on experience that way.
Yeah, totally understand that. I graduated undergrad during COVID time as well. What are some quick words of advice for the women in our program, or any woman looking to make it in the sports media industry, that you would give out on instructions how to achieve their dream job after graduation? Lauren?
I would say like don't let fear get in the way of like you being the only woman, or you not wanting to do it because you're like, oh, it's male dominated. Like go for it. Like it's gonna be great. Like you're gonna do great things. Like you're just as good as anyone else. Like you have the skill set. Like go for it. Like chase your dreams. Like I can't, like sometimes I like can't believe that I'm here like switching a show that's like we were talking about the draft today, and it's like, oh, I was like, who are the Giants gonna pick? Like who are these teams gonna pick? Like it's so like just go for it. Like it'll benefit you in the long run. So if it's like something you're really passionate about, like just do it.
Thank you. Melissa?
I agree with Lauren. Definitely just go for it. There's a reason why you want to do what you want to do. So obviously you're passionate about it. So definitely go towards your goals. But also once you get it, work hard, then work harder. Don't forget that it took a lot of work to get there, and you want to keep working to stay where you are.
Thank you, Miranda.
To piggyback off what they said, working hard, making sure like try not to say no to anything. If there's new training or there's new experiences, always at least put your name in the ring so they remember next time if you don't get it that time. And networking is a big thing. Like it took me over a year to get this job at ESPN, and I reached out to people I knew. Like I kept applying, I didn't give up. So you just have to, like you said, remember why you're doing this in the first place, and try not to give up, because you do belong in this space.
Thank you. Lauren, could you walk us through a typical day at work, when you get there and what time you leave and what coincides with that?
So today I had to be in for 10. We have our live draft crash course show. We do it every Thursday. Ever since the regular season ended, we started with draft crash course. And like, I've been doing all these shows for weeks now. So like I came in at 10, sat down on the switcher, made sure everything was loaded up. I had our two talent who are both remote. So we used live to air to bring them in. I made sure that both my boxes were set up. We use an iPad for comments because there's a ton of people in the app commenting about their favorite player and who they think their team's gonna get, or something about one of the players we're talking about. So I make sure that everything's set up, all my wipes are set up. Then I'll talk with the producer and about that show that day, as well as rehearse with the director, do a technical run of the show. Then once talent calls in, we'll talk with talent, we'll set up their camera framing, make sure everything looks correctly, make sure they can hear us, make sure everything is going smoothly on their end and our ends. Then I'll have to call out to master control to make sure that our lip sync is good. They can see everything that we're seeing, hearing everything. And then we'll have a rehearsal with the talent to just go through the show and if there's gonna be anything out of the ordinary. And then we go live. We went live at 1 p.m. and we were off to the races then. So it was pretty fun to and the two guys they work really well together and they were joking around and it was just a lot of fun. And then once the show was over, we talked about if we had any technical issues, how the show, how we can make it better and then move on for next week.
Sweet, thank you. Melissa, what about you? What's a day in the life?
Yeah, so it really depends on what time of year we're in. The NFL does a nice job of kind of breaking up the year, so there's something happening for most of the time besides that little bit of few weeks between Super Bowl and then when the off-season program starts. So our off-season program just started on Monday. So my typical day right now during this time is I'll get to the facility for 7 a.m. I'll go down and get some walking videos from the guys coming into the building. Sometimes we'll set up a walk-in cam and we'll ask the guys a question at the door. Just this past week we did who's taking the NBA title, so they'll have some fun coming in, start the conversations for the day. I'll go up after that for some meetings for content planning. Today we had a press conference with our GM and assistant GM, so we streamed that and I live cut that for Twitter, just the parts that you would think that people on Twitter would want to hear about. For the draft obviously coming up. And then I went down and covered a few workouts that the guys had in the weight room. So we'll have our video production people cut that up for a piece for our Instagram and for our owner's Instagram as well. And then after workouts are done, I'll kind of get with the guys to either get selfie videos from them or just kind of ask them if they'd be willing to do some other media for us throughout the week and schedule that out with them. And then I went up and filmed the Snapchat show for our Snapchat app, obviously. And it's called Draft Snap right now since we're in that time of year. And then there's some production meetings for the draft coming up, post some more YouTube videos, and that's pretty much a day in the off season right now.
During the season, is your day more rigorous or is it more of the same?
Yeah, it's definitely a little crazier, especially with the game day. So in training camp also, now that the COVID protocols are a little more flexible. We also have influencer programs that we have to invite out celebrities and TikTok influencers and stuff like that out to the game. So we get with a bunch of planning on that. Covering practice is definitely more intense. There's more cameras. During training camp, there's public practice days, VIP days, and closed days as well. So it just depends really on what the day is.
Thank you. Miranda, what's it like for you at a day at work?
Sure. So sometimes I'm remote, but most of the times I'm on campus now because we're transitioning back on campus. So I, log on at 4 a.m., boot up the editing software and we have screens everywhere. So we set up the edit room. And then there's a list of, in the mornings, we work off a list. It's called a clips list for Sports Center and Get Up and Pecker and Dirtum and, a bunch of shows. And then so we talk to the producers whenever they need something done. We collaborate with them and cut it out, make sure it's onto the, the right control room so it can play back after. Recently, I've been working on a lot of teases. So, the Sports Center coming at noon teases. And it's really different day-to-day basis. I'm training more to do longer format, so that'll be fun once I get there. But right now it's a bunch of like quick turn VOs, SOTs, mini packages. But I do that from 4 a.m. to about 2:30, and then I head home.
Wow, 4 a.m. Thank you. Now, how did you guys get your position? Like, how was the interview process? How did you find it? What do you think the most important, whether it be website or tool that you use to find your position that you have now?
I think I used LinkedIn or Indeed, like I saw it and I was like, oh, this would be really cool. Like, and so I applied, and within a couple of days, I heard back from one of the hiring managers, and then I had an interview. And then the next week, I heard from a different hiring manager, and they wanted me to come into the office to get a tour and to meet with them. And it was really cool to like come in and like see all the studios and stuff. And I thought it was so cool. Like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, so definitely Indeed and LinkedIn were great.
Melissa, I know you said you've been working with Jet since your undergrad, but how did you get that position in undergrad? And then you said it was mostly networking to get you to the position you're at now.
Yeah, so for my undergrad, I got the internship in events through Teamworks online, which was great. And then just from there, I made connections with people within the building. And so when positions opened up, I kind of would, you like do interview process with them. When I graduated, the position and coaching kind of was brought to me. So that was a little bit of a different situation. But when I wanted to move to social, they posted it. And I obviously applied for it. I still interviewed with everybody, just like everybody else, and they hired me. So I think networking is definitely very important too.
What about you, Miranda? I know you said it took you kind of a year to find this role. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so when I graduated, obviously there was no sports because it was COVID. So I was still trying to be in broadcast somewhere because I had my master's degree and I wanted to, use the skills. So I went to local news. I worked at Channel 12 in Providence for a year. But during that time, they have a sports department, and I kept like reminding them that, hey, like I have a sports degree, it's not just news. And so I got to do a few like Bruins games and stuff like that. But I knew deep down I really just wanted to be in sports and not news. So I started looking on LinkedIn, and that is how I got the job. I applied like crazy, and then I also did that extra step of finding who the hiring managers are, just going through my list. Like I knew a few people who was in my program work at ESPN with me now, and I reached out to them and just said like, hey, is there any advice, like what can I do? I think I started the interview process in September and then got the job in November. But they're also they were like just starting to hire again. So it took a few months. It was a very long interview process, but it was definitely worth it. They tested like my skills, like, through Zoom and stuff with those. And then I finally got to go on campus. So it did take a while, but I think the networking and like reaching out to like people I knew who already worked there, just to like, hey, I'm trying to get this job. Like, is there any help? It's like the networking is really, the biggest part to jobs like this.
And I know you guys are in a solid spot now in you guys' career, but do you have any professional goals that you would like to achieve through this position or even somewhere else, Lauren?
I would just like to TD more things, like bigger things, and like I think it'd be cool.
So stay in the TD position, but just
like TD or in production in general.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Melissa? Any further goals, or you like where you're at? You're on mute.
I saw it. I was like, oh no. I love where I'm at right now. I love football. Like always do I want to work for a team, but I do think one day I would love to, like I love producing our weekly shows on Snapchat and stuff like that and YouTube. So I would love to just actually produce a show for the team or maybe some other organization one day.
Cool, thank you. What about you, Miranda?
So right now I'm in a lot of quick turn, which is great because you wake up in the morning and you watch SportsCenter, and I probably cut a lot of what you see. But I'd love to go into the longer format, and that's what the trainings I've lined up with my supervisor will hopefully help me get to do. Like, so we do 30 for 30 outside, but they, you know, we do a lot of long format in-house, and that's what I'm hoping to get to.
Cool, thank you guys. Just a reminder for the other attendees that if you have a question, please type it into the chat, because now we're going to go to attendee questions. I know we have two currently. Emily Laval asked, how have you developed your voice in working as a woman in sports and as a younger individual? I work with a wide variety of seasoned professionals that I have to manage and want to become more confident with my voice. This could be an open, whoever has an answer can go ahead.
I honestly think just, stay true to yourself and just don't try to be somebody you're not. You'll work too hard to like try to fit in. And I think you're there for a reason. So just as long as you like stay on your own path, I think you'd be great.
I agree. I feel like you should just be yourself and you'll just become more confident. You're confident in yourself. So I agree.
You just have to remember you're there for a reason. They want you there. So you, to be more confident, you have to remember that, like, you're there for a reason and they want you there.
Thank you. Kristen James asked, what concrete skills do you use on a daily basis, particular to everyone's position?
I know for me, communication. I feel like I'm kind of like a person who has to kind of connect all different departments together, whether it's the football side to the media side and, running around just trying to get everything done. So just definitely communication every day, 24/7.
I would agree. Also communication, like whether I'm communicating with producers, with directors, or even the other control room ops, like on our show today, one of our iPad was going in and out. So it was communicating. It was like, oh, let's not take the iPad to air. Let's call in engineering to fix the iPad. So communication is definitely key.
Absolutely, communication is key. As an editor, you talk to producers and PAs, and you talk to everyone. So you have to like make sure, hey, this clip isn't working out. Is there, a different one you want to use or anything like that? Communication is definitely key.
Thank you. Kira Crutcher asks, what is something you wish you knew going into working in the sports media industry?
I'm honestly not positive how to like answer this because I feel like a lot of the things that you are warned about, like, and are expected, like the long hours, kind of how like you really have to work your way up. I'm not so sure. I guess like just like even talking with you guys, like everyone's path's totally different and there's no one way to do something. So I guess that would be my answer for that.
Yeah, just to piggyback what she said, there's no like one way to get to your destination. Like you can go so many different ways to get there, but like it's like the journey, like how you got there is really the cool part, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with what they both said.
Thank you. Kristen James also asked, this one's, particular to Melissa, do you have any plans to approach your superiors about producing or creating a new show, or what steps have you taken to begin that process if you have?
Yeah, so I honestly was the one to bring up producing a weekly show on Snapchat for the team. So we did it during the season. We had a few guys on the show, and when the off season hit, we had to come up with weekly things to do when nobody was here. So we did kind of a mock draft segment for it. So I think, small baby steps, I'm getting practice with this, and then one day I can lead up. And I think they know what my goals are at the end of the day. So everyone's pretty open, and yeah, I think they just are very supportive of me and what I want to do.
What about you, Lauren? As a TD, do you have any ties to the actual creative process of producing a show, or is it more you're on the technical side?
I'm more on the technical side, but if I have a creative idea, they're always open to like hear me out and like hear my ideas out, whether it's incorporating a different technique or if it's how the show looks. Like we were supposed to have a show on Monday, so I was reaching out to the producer and seeing how how they want the show to look, and they're like, oh, this is how it's going to be. You can like create it however you want, pretty much, which is kind of cool.
Miranda, I know you're an editor, but do you have any desire to work on the creative side at all, or no?
Yeah, actually, I get to like once a month, ESPN does this thing where we get to choose what not district, but there's different types of creatives at ESPN, and we get to shadow them for at least an hour just to see what our colleagues are working on. And one of my colleagues does great in After Effects, and he did this like Duke basketball cooking segment, and it was all just like PNG and like people's faces on clip art, and it was amazing. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know this is something you could do. So it definitely piqued my interest.
Thank you. For the next question, if you're not comfortable answering, of course, don't answer it. But when we're talking about salary, is it comparable to cost of living in your area? If you want to answer it like that.
Yeah, I think that like whatever position, you should be compensated for whatever you're doing accordingly, and you should look up what the other salaries are in your position and make sure it's, in line with what you're making, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with Melissa that you have to look at where you're located and how much they're gonna how much they're willing to what your salary is.
Yeah, and it's okay to negotiate. You don't have to go in there and just take whatever they have. Especially, well, I came from local news, and what I'm getting paid now is a lot more than local news because I was afraid to speak up. So coming to ESPN, I used my negotiation and made sure, like Melissa said, I'm being paid for what I am doing.
Great, thank you. This next question is from Chris Ortega, and it's for Lauren. How do you manage stress, changes, or interruption during a live show?
I don't really stress. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. Once we're live, we're live. So I'm just rolling with the punches. Whatever the director wants to do, I'll do. If he wants me to take the iPad, sure, we'll take the iPad. If he's take camera 2, I'm taking camera 2. I don't really if the producer or someone is stressed out, I'm just all right, well, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I was we can do our best to make sure that we have a clean show, and technology fails sometimes. That's gonna happen. A couple of weeks ago, we did a show and our live air didn't work, and we're oh well, we're a couple minutes out. We were well, what are we gonna do? And we're I don't know. I was just kind of sitting there. I have everything ready to go, so I just was calm while everyone else was freaking out. And I was it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna work out. We're gonna have a show. It's gonna be great. People are gonna watch. People are gonna love it. It's great. And I'm how are you? I'm always just upbeat and positive.
Melissa, Miranda, do you guys have any higher ups or bosses that might be a little more stressful or stress inducing? If so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think especially higher ups will always have stress fall on them, but I think that's also part of the reason why they like to have people who are positive, like Lauren said, and just keep a good attitude during those stressful times to kind of bring them back down to the level ground.
Definitely what Melissa said, and also during live shows, they need things cut. When Tom Brady decided to unretire, we were cutting live as the show was going on. So that's hectic. It's okay, we need 4 Tom Brady videos right now, and they all have to look different, but they're all the same. So you're all right, how do I make this look different? And so you kind of have fun in the stress because in 2 seconds, you're going to look over at a different monitor and what you cut is being shown. So like Lauren said too, yeah, it's a little stressful, but you make the best of it, and you have to, stay positive because it is live TV and anything can happen.
Thank you very much. This next question is from Asia. How did you guys deal with securing a job right out of college when most jobs require a certain amount of experience? Did you guys run into any of that, or?
I think that networking helps a lot. obviously, I think any opportunity you can take to either volunteer, shadow somebody, do it and add it on your resume, even if it's for a day. And when you'll never know who you're going to meet that day. And like, if you make an impression on them and, just like following up with people as well and like seeing if there's anything more you can do to just kind of build your experience. And then, one day somebody will want to take the chance on you and bring you in to see how hard you worked.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like when I applied, I had all this experience, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why I got this job is because I had all this experience prior, that they were like, oh, they loved that I knew how to do all this stuff that I did at Sacred Heart. And I feel like it wasn't for the experience I had at Sacred Heart, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Definitely helps to know how to show it on your resume as well if you're trying to get a foot in the door, even if you have little experience. If you go into more depth or break down those bullet points a little bit more on your resume, it may, sure, you only have 2 years of experience in this, but can you break it down more to show like, the minor things that you did that may actually help out to get your foot into that door, so then you can be in front of them and explain, in person, like, hey, I did this and I did this, and I know it doesn't show it on my resume maybe as much, but I do have this experience.
Thank you very much. Joseph Frias asked, what are some unexpected advantages or perks you feel you have at your current workplace or in your current position?
Honestly, I think just like being able to go to game days, I feel like I'm like, even though I've been doing it for a few years now, it's every game day is like still exciting to me. It doesn't get old. And, like, for instance, last year, like crazy things happen all the time. Antonio Brown running off the field in the middle of the game, something I saw right up close. So there's just little things that could happen during the day that you're just kind of like, wow, I can't believe this is my job and this is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was really cool to like come in and like, we did a couple shows this week. We did a show with Shaq, and I just thought it was so cool that like I get to come in and like listen to Shaq talk like it was a podcast, but like it was so cool to like see him come in and like he was just so casual, just talking about basketball, talking about baseball. I just thought it was so like it was something new. I like went home and I was like, wow, like did I just like we just did a podcast with Shaq today. That was cool.
Piggybacking off Lauren, it's fun to see, all the people who come in and are guests at ESPN. Like sometimes I'm going to get coffee at 7 a.m. and I walk by talent and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is normal. Like, and like sometimes I forget like where I work. And I don't know if you guys are like Gary fans from ESPN, but he posted a TikTok the other day about them making pizza. And the ESPN Cafe, it has amazing food. It was like a viral TikTok that he posted. So it is true. It's one of the best places to eat in Bristol.
Thank you. And Melissa, I was at that game as well when he took his clothes off and ran away. So yeah, just to be on the working side of that, I can only imagine. If anyone else has any more questions, please type them, but we will be wrapping up soon. So I'm just going to give, some people some time if they have any more questions. And if you guys have anything else you want to say to the attendees, feel free to. Okay, we have one question from Professor Lori. All three of you guys have mentioned COVID. What are some tangible ways that has impacted your jobs?
I would say for me personally, like all of our shows are remote, and like all of our talent are remote guests. So like having them like call in and like having to deal with like, oh, if they have bad Wi-Fi, like we've been doing our basketball betting show for the past couple weeks, and our talent always, his Wi-Fi is always cutting in and out. We're like, oh, well, like he's at home, he's in Atlanta, like, oh, is his Wi-Fi gonna be good today? I don't know. So I'm always like have another camera or other talent prepared. So like if his Wi-Fi goes out, we'll have someone to jump to. So it's not like we're just seeing color bars on air.
I agree with Lauren as well. When we do shows during the season, the protocols got a lot more strict strict in like November until December when the holidays are kind of over, just to limit, people seeing their limit COVID cases rising if people were going to see their families. And during that time, we would have to do, podcasts and shows with the guys virtually. I'm like texting all these guys to like send me selfie videos and stuff if I can't get them on the field after practice. And because, it goes back into a tiering system where you can only have a certain amount of people and a certain amount of places at the same time. And then the travel party gets cut down to like when you're going to play the Dolphins during those games. So it's like, asking our, our cameraman, like, can you just get like a shot on the sideline of a video of, a celebration, like at some point during the game. So it was definitely a little frustrating in that aspect, but hopefully it's all up from here.
I actually started in January at ESPN, and they were still pretty much remote. So my first 3 months working at ESPN, I was home in Massachusetts, trying to move out to Connecticut and finally getting to be on campus. But I had to learn a whole new editing software that only ESPN uses remotely. So that was definitely a very big learning curve.
Wow, Miranda, how long did it take you to learn that by yourself?
So I was with trainers from like 8 to 5 every day for a couple weeks. And, editing's editing. It's like very simple. Like if you know how to edit, it's just, learning the software and learning the shortcuts. So it took me like a month to understand all of like the ESPN ways. And it's not like Premiere or Avid shortcuts, it's its own different shortcuts. So that was the biggest learning curve. But after that, it's, how to cut, how to add traditions, how to do all that. But definitely a month of learning, a whole new editing software remotely.
Thank you. We have a question from Kay Torres. Are there any courses you wish you took that you didn't in school? If none, what business skills do you need to work on the most, or do you use the most at your current position?
Business wise, for my end, just social metrics, like measuring, the impressions and stuff, which has turned into also revenue, which I didn't think I would be doing, is probably an answer for me. But you learn fast and it's pretty easy to figure out.
Thank you very much. That's the last of the questions. And I'm going to give the mic back to Dr. Miller for the conclusion. Thank you to our panelists very much, and for the people who asked the questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. It's always great when we have our alumni back to visit, even if it's virtual. And, you're always welcome here, or, Miranda, we can hang out in West Hartford, or something near the ESPN campus. So a little bit of business. So again, thank you so much. For everyone that's listening in, we're going to go ahead and tell everybody, go ahead and take a break and leave the Zoom. And then we will be starting up again right at 5:30. So we'll sort of kick everybody out, go take a break, get a snack or something like that. And our next panel will begin at 5:30. And we really hope to see you all there. And once again, just really thank you to our alumni for coming back, and for everybody that joined us on this conversation.